Saluditos a todos, ¿qué tal estáis? Bienvenidos de nuevo al canal, soy Secors, continuamos aquí en el hospital Pembroke en Vampy. Acabamos de llegar hace nada. Vamos a empezar a chafardear por la zona. Aquí alguien que está bastante jodido y aquí hay algo, Frasco de vidrio más 2. Bueno, vamos a ir pillando lo que se pueda, más o menos. Recordad de echar un vistazo a todos los rinconcitos, porque siempre acaba apareciendo algo que se puede coger. Bueno, no siempre. Pero tienes muchas posibilidades de ir encontrando cosas por el camino. Y vale la pena. Porque igual luego nos van a hacer falta. Luego me meteré ahí y hablaremos con este hombre. Pero primero, dejadme que chafardee la zona. Con este quería hablar yo.
Good evening, sir.
So it is true. The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Actually, yes. We met once before, at the Rockefeller University in New York.
Dr. Tippett, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about coronary bypasses. He had nothing but praise for you.
He was also very confident about your future. And look at you now. Eminent surgeon and blood transfusion specialist.
Vale, vamos a ver qué nos dicen de este hombre. ¿Nos da 1100? Ostras, pues nos da bastante poco. Con ese asistente se niega. Vale, vamos a ver si podemos sacarle más información. Solo nos da 1100, que poco, ¿no? Uy, vamos a abrir esto.
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran. Maybe you should think about preserving your strength.
No. We must keep on healing all those poor souls. We are the last rampart before chaos. Once more unto the breach.
Vale, ahora... pues no me ha subido, oye. No me ha subido nada.
You've nothing to prove, Dr. Tippett, to anybody. And we all praise your experience. Please, have some rest.
I am perfectly fine, and I am not too old for this job.
No sé por qué.
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation? And please, speak freely.
This hospital is not exactly the best of London. I'm sure you are used to working in a better environment.
¿Esto es todo?
It's more than enough. In any case, the personnel of a hospital are much more important to me than the building.
Don't be misled by appearances, Dr. Reed. This hospital does not lack talented people. It just lacks hope.
What can you tell me about the staff in the hospital?
Some are really good, and others are not so good. But during this troubled period, there is no time for slander. I prefer to focus on the positive character traits.
Di que sí, hombre.
Tell me more about cherished people, then.
Nurse Brannigan is a pearl. She is the most helpful and dedicated nurse I've ever worked with. A clever and cheerful woman.
You really seem to admire her skills.
I'll go even further. If she was a man, she would be a damn fine practitioner.
Any opinion about the management?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit he does all he can to keep this facility running during this crisis.
Ah, yes, the burden of command. I was fed up with this concept while serving as a medical officer.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator. I just wish he would get out of his office now and again.
Vale. ¿Cuánta pasta vales ahora? 1600. Esto ya está mejor, Tiramos para atrás. Ya está, eso es todo lo que puedo hacer. Eso está todo recorrido. Por aquí no podemos ya seguir. Venga, vamos a preguntas personales, que tampoco podemos hacer ninguna. Bueno, no pasa nada.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett.
Vamos a hablar con esta señora. Que ahora sí que podemos sacarle algo más.
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Vida en Londres, esto ya está. Preguntas personales. Aquí. Tippett la halaga.
Why does Dr. Tippett claim you're the main reason he keeps working, despite his fatigue?
If it wasn't for him, I probably would have left the Pembroke years ago.
Dr. Tippett does not think of you as just a nurse anymore, does he?
If you're suggesting he's not taking my gender into consideration when it comes to medical practice and knowledge, I really hope he doesn't.
Vale, ahora esta señora vale 3.000. Tengo una... me como a alguien. La verdad es que no, ¿eh? Vale, tenemos una pista de ella. Vamos a irnos aquí. Vale, es un círculo próximo. Esto ya vale 1.600 y tenemos 2 pistas. De este no tenemos ninguna, pero este tío no me acaba, no sé. Me da cierto mal rollo. No hay relaciones, este tampoco tiene relaciones. Aquí hay 2 más que no sé quién serán. Y aquí hay más gente que no sé quién es. Vale, aquí hemos conseguido... Ah, este es el Hampton. 3.000, ¿eh? Este... Vale. Vamos a ver si podemos volver a repreguntar algo. Parece ser que no.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
Vale. La dejamos por aquí. Y ahora vamos a hablar con este caballero. Y luego haremos una
Good
cosa,
evening,
porque
sir.
tenemos puntos de experiencia.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm new here.
I've already heard about you, Dr. Reed. I'm Milton Hooks, the ambulance driver for this shithole of a hospital.
That's quite a blunt introduction, Mr. Hooks.
You can call me Milton. I like to speak my mind, Dr. Reed. Perk of the job. Don't judge me, and I won't judge you.
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
Well, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure a gun can't be used as a surgical instrument.
You have a keen eye. I learned to shoot during the war, and have carried one ever since. Old habits die hard.
No need to explain, Dr. Reed. And if you ever need a better gun, remember, I may have something for you.
How is the situation around here?
You want to hear the situation is all right? It's fucking awful. We lack everything, and it's getting worse every day.
Joder, vaya alegría.
So what do you do exactly in this hospital? Apart from smuggling guns, I mean.
I've been an ambulance driver since... too long, I guess. I bring sick people here night and day. It's a dirty job, but I get it done. Most of the time.
It sounds like things have been a bit rough recently. What's happened?
Yesterday I got attacked by the patient I was bringing here. I escaped through the hospital's garden, but I lost my wallet when I was running.
You left an infected patient outside the hospital? That's incredibly dangerous.
Go there yourself if you want, but be careful, Doctor. I'd rather not bring your dead body back.
Investigaciones locales. Hay una nueva investigación sobre ciudadanos disponible. Pulsa DAL para abrir el menú de investigaciones locales. A ver. Investigaciones sobre ciudadanos. Aquí puedes ver las investigaciones sobre ciudadanos organizadas por distritos. Para empezar, una nueva misión de ciudadano. Al rastrearla con X a continuación accede a tu mapa para localizar el área que debes explorar. ¿Eso cómo se hace? Medianoche en el jardín del bien y del mal. Misión ciudadano. Accede al jardín trasero. Vale, rastrear. Detalles. Milton Hooks, el conductor de ambulancia de Pembroke, confesó que fue atacado por un paciente mientras lo trasladaba al hospital. Tuvo que huir por el jardín del complejo, pero perdió la cartera por el camino. El atacante debió de ser bastante violento, pues Milton se niega a volver a pisar ese lugar. Quizás debería inspeccionar el jardín por mí mismo a ver si descubro qué está pasando allí. Pues sí, no te digo que no.
Since you're on the front line, how is the sanitary situation in this vicinity?
It's a complete disaster. It's even getting dangerous to enter some streets or buildings. Even the locals attack you.
Are you really smuggling weapons through the hospital?
And why not? I've already been attacked by patients, you know. And by gang members willing to steal my money.
But you're not defending yourself. You're selling guns to civilians.
You keep people alive your own way, Doctor. I offer them another way to protect their health.
Bueno, visto así. A ver si ya lo hemos hecho. Vámonos a preguntas personales. Hombre, esto lo podemos hacer. Extorsionar. Ostras. Vamos a hacerlo.
Tell me why you're extorting money from some of the patients here.
If a patient wants a bed, he'll have to pay me a little fee. That's all.
Where did you get the idea for such an immoral scam?
Funny you should ask. The first time it was from a patient who bribed me to get a bed. It's only then I realized I could make a fortune.
Qué bien.
I'd like to see your goods.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable gun is what everybody needs these days.
Escopeta de Milton. ¿Cuánto vale esto? 315. Si tengo 11, no me puedo comprar nada. Bueno, ya veremos. Igual le puedo comprar algo más adelante. Vale, te dejo. Voy a chafardear un poco más por los rincones. Y luego ya entraremos tranquilamente en el hospital. Siempre encontrar las palabras adecuadas para tranquilizar los niños. Vale, parece ser que por aquí no hay nada. A ver si aquí dentro encontramos alguna cosa. Vamos al tal Milton Hooks, que es todo un personaje. No hay nada más, un cartel. Sí, aquí hay una caja con algo. Botella pequeña, jugué con las botellas pequeñas. La obsesión. La ciudad necesita soya. Ciudad, ayuda. Vida salvada por una... Eso ya lo habíamos leído.
Dr. Swansea is right. This place seems perfect to conduct my research.
No se me ve en el espejo, ¿no? Vaya alegría de hospital. Se necesitan enfermeras, tenga piedad, dependen de ustedes. Se necesitan enfermeras. Pregunte en la oficina de nombramientos más cercana del Ministerio de Empleo y Servicio Nacional o escriba a Kingways, Londres. ¿A Kingways, Londres? Kingways, Londres. Qué mal leo, cada día peor. No, quiero ver el cartel. No tosan público, prevenga la enfermedad de escupir, estornudar o toser ayuda a propagar la gripe. Los fluidos nasales o guturales promueven el contagio. Ostras, qué asco. A ver qué le pasa a esta señora.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no meaning to me, mortal. You're nothing but dust blown by the winds of eternity.
I beg your pardon?
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well, tonight maybe I'm inclined to mercy. You'll never forget the night you met Thelma Howcroft.
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that? And if I'm mortal, what are you?
Well, Dr. Reed, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
Este está flipando. A que te meto un bocado.
And why do you believe you're a vampire?
I don't need to believe anything. It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
Please, describe to me how you feel. What is it like to be a vampire?
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh cracks and fades. I sense the last pulse of postulant blood within my drying veins. I need new blood.
I see. Have you ever heard of Cotard's syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French neurologist named Jules Cotard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefying, that they are dead, a ghost or a ghoul, or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad and petty mortal. You can't even begin to understand the concept of immortality. And you think it is I who am delusional.
Vale, ha subido, ¿no? Venga, vamos a preguntarle algo más.
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howcroft?
It's only a cover. To hide from my enemies. I can leave whenever I want. As a woman, a spirit, fog, or bat.
Está muy flipada, ¿no?
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them watching me every time I visit the garden near the morgue.
The staff here are not your enemy. They're here to help you, to care for you.
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of the men and women who hunt me. For I am a vampire.
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave you alone.
Thank you, mortal. But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
Objetivo equivocado. Nueva investigación. ¿Cómo que nueva investigación? Tiene más super síndrome de Cotar y se crea un vampiro. Bueno, vamos a tirar para atrás. Notas personales.
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
No, it was such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
Está un poco flipada, ¿no?
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
And what of my own life?
Busca tu despacho en la segunda planta. Accede al jardín trasero. Aquí hay algo que coger. Otra botella pequeña. Madre mía, con las botellas pequeñas. Qué obsesión. Nada más por aquí. Parece ser que no. Aquí sí que hay algo.
It's locked.
Pero está cerrado. ¿Y cómo lo puedo abrir? Igual puedo abrirlo una vez terminado el juego. No lo sé. No lo tengo nada claro, ¿eh? Al menos lo digo. No hay ninguna indicación que diga necesitas una llave especial o necesitas, ¿sabéis? A ver, ¿dónde estaba el mapa? Mercader. Accede al jardín trasero. Vale. No, que quiero poner quiero poner un marcador. Qué lío, me lío, con los mandos me lío un poco. Marcador. ¿Para qué puedo poner un marcador? Hay que poner el marcador. Vale, pues vamos a ir al jardín trasero, pero vamos bien por aquí, ¿eh? Es donde hemos entrado en la partida anterior. Por aquí pasa algo.
It's locked, all right.
Oh, oh. Vale, esta gente está acá, aquí. Fotografía en una cartera. Una fotografía de una pareja sonriendo. En el reverso hay escrita una frase. Milton y Pipa por siempre juntos. Detalles. Vale, ya no hay más detalles. Vuelve la cartera a su propietario. Pero tengo la cartera. Voy a acercarme a Milton. Pero como me voy a meter muchos saltos de estos. Por aquí no me dejan ir pegando saltitos, menos mal, porque me vería todo el mundo. Vamos a buscar a Milton, que estará por aquí fuera, supongo.
At least that mistress of the dark.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
A ver si nos queda algo pendiente por aquí. Por aquí va a ser que no.
I have some good news, Milton.
What? The epidemic's over?
I retrieved your wallet with all the money and a certain picture.
Well, yeah, Pippa Hawkins is my girl. So what? Is it the difference of skin colour that bothers you?
Not at all, Milton.
Good. Please, take this money anyway. To remind you to keep your mouth shut.
Está Hawkins.
Not everybody is as broad-minded as you, Dr. Reed.
Bien, 40 chelines que nos han cascado.
What's going on between you and Nurse Hawkins?
Pippa's tired. Tired of all this shit. Tired of all those corpses piling up. She's as depressed as I am.
During the war, I witnessed a few couples just like you come together in difficult circumstances. It can be very damaging.
Maybe you're right. But we support each other. And that's all that matters.
You do realize you could both get fired. Hospital staff are not meant to have intimate relationships with one another.
Come on, Dr. Reed. Do you know how many rules are broken in this hospital every day just to keep it running? There's nothing wrong with what we're doing.
Bueno, visto así, pues no están haciendo nada malo. Visto así. A ver, Milton, que nos falta una pista solo. Son pareja y Milton extorsiona a algunos de los pacientes. Venga, no falta nada para ver. Igual le podemos sacar más a este hombre. Igual no. No hacemos
Goodbye,
casos.
Milton.
Bueno, vamos a volver a pillar a esta señora.
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Goodbye, Nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
Y ahora está aquí el pavo.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reed? Yes, I've been informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swans's enthusiasm for hiring you. What we need here are reliable professionals,
Aficionados.
not overrated dabblers.
Supervalorados. Madre mía, chaval. Simpático el muchacho, ¿eh?
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
Coqueteando con la prensa.
Aren't you too old for such jealousy? It really won't do you any good, you know.
Don't be ridiculous, Dr. Reed. A simple glance is enough for me to know you have nothing for me to envy.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansea, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
Nueva pista. Orly no prueba los métodos de la medicina moderna. Vale. Veamos qué más le podemos sacar a este hombre. 2600 tiene ahora. Por
If
aquí.
you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
Aren't you too old for such jealousy? It really won't do you any good, you know.
Don't be ridiculous, Dr. Reed. A simple glance is enough for me to know you have nothing for me to envy.
En Londres todo hecho hasta donde hemos podido. Preguntas personales, a ver.
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd.
Toda la razón.
I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
Vale, aquí hay que tirar por una respuesta, ¿vale? Como ya hemos hecho antes, pero como visto así no, ¿sabéis? Da la sensación de que se puede coger cualquiera porque sí. Aquí tenemos tres opciones que son: he salvado muchas vidas, el conocimiento es nuestra principal arma y no tengo por qué justificar mis acciones ante usted. Este es un poco borde, este es medio y este es de otra manera.
This is ridiculous. My blood transfusion technique saved many lives, and you know it.
You see? That is exactly what I hate about people like you. You avoid this kind of accusation instead of facing reality.
Por aquí ya nada que pelar. Y por aquí tampoco. Vamos a dejar este hombre.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
Vamos a ver con este.
Good
ya
evening,
hemos hablado,
Doctor.
¿no? Ah, no, es otro.
I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Bueno, algo le hemos sacado.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me. But I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
Encantado de ayudarlo. Investigar es agotador. Los halagos no le servirán. Estaré encantado de ayudarlo.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
Vale. Superhospital Pembroke.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time.
Vale. Nueva investigación. Vamos a tirar para atrás. ¿Dónde están las investigaciones? Averigüe quién espía a Thelma. Vamos a rastrear esto. Doctor Strickland y este. Algo pasa con estos. Faltan ingredientes. Vamos a... Ah, no. Vamos a rastrear. Esto ya está superada. ¿Aquí tenía alguna? No. Aquí sí. Vale. Tiramos un poco más para atrás. Vamos a preguntarle sobre su técnica de transfusión de sangre.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him? Or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
Ya veremos a este paciente, supongo, en algún momento. Harvey Fiddick. Desconocido.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior, a man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings, with desires, hopes and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones and flesh.
Este ve la parte humana de los pacientes y el otro no. Bueno, ¿qué le vamos a hacer?
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
What can I do for you, Doctor?
Ah, sí. Dorothy Crane. Vamos a ver. ¿Quién es el Dr. Swan? ¿Cómo está Hampton? ¿Dónde está mi consulta? Esto está todo preguntado.
Thank you, Nurse Crane.
How can we be sure we're making a difference?
Es este el paciente.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Aykroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable. And your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies.
Vale, todo esto visto. Vamos a preguntas personales.
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
Tranquilo, hombre, tranquilo.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army. Building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
Esto ya está hecho. Todo esto está hecho. Vida en Londres hasta aquí.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
I will not let you down, my boy.
Sí, me veré más tarde. A ver si podemos coger ya algo. Carta incompleta. Hospital Pembroke, 2 de noviembre. Queridos hijos, siento no haberos escrito antes, pero tan solo trasladar estas palabras al maldito papel me produce un dolor insoportable. No os preocupéis. Papá abandonará el hospital en cuanto los médicos le curen el brazo. Mientras tanto, si necesitáis cualquier cosa, id a ver al señor Chadwick a la obra y decidle que sois los hijos de Harvey Fiddick. ¿Os acordáis de Robert Chadwick? Ese hombre enorme con bigote que me ayudó a arreglar las puertas de casa la primavera pasada. Id a verlo y pedidle algunos chelines. No os pondrá ninguna pega. Siento no poder trabajar por el momento, pero ya me inventaré algo en cuanto salga de aquí. No os preocupéis, todo irá bien en cuanto papá recupere la fuerza en el brazo. En cuanto los médicos me curen el brazo, yo está incompleto. Pues ahí se queda. Una nueva pista disponible. Voy a volver a hablar con él.
Good evening, Mr. Fiddick.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Any news about my operation?
You seem worried about the safety of your family. And it's obviously the reason why your wound troubles you so much.
I cannot give up on my children now. They both need me living.
What about their mother? if I may ask?
She died in 1915 during one of the first Zeppelin raids. We never found her body.
Vale, ese ya no nos da más pasta.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
You always knew the words to calm the children, Helen. As for me, what a blundering idiot.
Fresco de vídeo por 4. Hospital hasta el culo de gente. Está cojonudo el hospital,
Good evening, nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced
Pippa
yet.
Hawkins.
My
Eso me
name is
interesa.
Pippa Hawkins.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Dr. Swansea has recently offered me a position in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
Pepper, I know you're very close to Milton Hooks.
Yes? Milton Hooks is my man. If you want to report me for that, just feel free, Doctor.
I have no intention of reporting you, Nurse Hawkins. But are you aware of the risks?
The rules say I won't be allowed to work as a nurse anymore. But here at the Pembroke, we break rules all the time.
Is he worth the risk?
Hey, I'm no perfect woman, and Milton is not the finest bloke. But we do our best to get by. That's all any of us can hope for nowadays.
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you. But what if this epidemic was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
You must get a hold of yourself, nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
How long have you been a nurse?
Well, long enough to see that the epidemic is winning. And no matter how qualified you are, don't tell me you'll change that.
I don't like your attitude, Nurse Hawkins. Pessimism can be as lethal as the epidemic in times like these.
Sorry, Doctor. I don't want to sound bitter,
Pero váyase a la
but
mierda.
I'm just too tired to give a pep talk like Nurse Brannigan.
How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual, especially concerning doctors.
Why does Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned, Milton is not the chatty type.
Why is Milton grumpy on a daily basis? Is it just an act?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation, whether he deserved it or not.
Vale, ya podemos ir a preguntarle. Vamos a ir a preguntarle. La reputación de Milton es mediocre entre sus compañeros. Milton extorsiona a algunos de los pacientes del Pembroke y Milton y la enfermera Hawkins son pareja. Vaya tela. Ahora preguntas personales que podemos hacerle ninguna.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Bueno, vamos a hablar otra vez con Milton.
Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich,
Necesito
vibrant
sangre.
blood.
Está flipadísima,
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
Actividades nocturnas, está cachondeando ya totalmente. Es desgraciado. A ver si nos canta algo más el tal Milton.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
Pues sí.
Why do you have such a mediocre reputation among your colleagues, Milton?
Fuck them. Nobody knows the horrors I've seen since working here. This city was sick long before the epidemic, Dr. Reed.
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left to die while their brothers were properly fed. Underage girls and boys sold to all manner of perverts.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly. We lack words. So excuse me if I don't look on the bright side of life.
Bueno, visto así, es lo que hay. Me falta una pista.
Goodbye, Milton.
Me paso el rato hablando con gente. Bueno, vamos al despacho, ¿no? Que ya va tocando. Lléveme a un hospital, busca tu despacho en la segunda planta. Vale, vamos a subir. Aquí ya ha entrado, ¿no? Creo que aquí ya ha entrado. Me encanta este hospital, que está abierto rápidamente al exterior, ¿eh? Esto es la primera planta. Vamos a ir a la segunda, ¿vale? Directamente. Y decía que era... Oh, ¿no es aquí? Doctor Swansea. ¿Por aquí estaré yo? Tibet, Strickland y Aykroyd. Y este soy yo, ¿no? Doctor Reid. Venga, vamos a nuestro despachito.
This must be the place.
Claramente
It's definitely away from prying eyes. Relegated to the shadows. A kingdom of my own. At least I won't be sleeping in a coffin.
Eso sí, no pasas la noche en un ataúd. Completamente cierto. Pero bueno, no sé yo aquí si vas a poder investigar mucho. Mira, aquí tenemos algo. Artículos sobre los secons. Es una oportunidad poco común y casi un privilegio poder aproximarse a un vampiro, observar sus más que fascinantes rasgos físicos y psicológicos con una mirada científica racional. Estas son algunas de las más increíbles capacidades que he podido observar personalmente durante los últimos 10 años de entrevistas a vampiros, o Econ. Como prefieren hacerse llamar. Velocidad sobrenatural. Un vampiro puede actuar y moverse como un mortal en todo momento, pero un ojo bien entrenado podrá apreciar sus sentidos mucho más desarrollados. Una capacidad de reacción mucho más rápida que la de cualquier mortal. En determinadas situaciones, alarma, sorpresa, necesidad de escapar. He visto a un vampiro desplazarse tan rápido que casi podría parecer que se desvaneciera para reaparecer en otro lugar. El ojo humano no es capaz de seguir sus movimientos cuando actúan con tanta celeridad, pero no se trata de ningún tipo de teletransporte o desmaterialización. Tan solo es una velocidad sobrenatural. Para mí es como los atributos de los gatos, que les permite correr, esquivar, saltar más lejos y más rápido que nosotros. También he observado que esa velocidad parece agotarlos, por lo que están sujetos a limitaciones físicas. Mesmerismo. Una de las más poderosas capacidades que poseen los vampiros es la de obligar a los mortales a obedecerlos. Yo denomino este rasgo mesmerismo, pero poco tiene que ver con la habilidad de los mortales para alterar el estado mental de un sujeto. Un vampiro puede doblegar a un mortal a su voluntad e incluso destruir su mente. Un vampiro al que entrevisté llegó a contarme que cuanto más se resiste el sujeto, más permanente resulta el daño, como si el vampiro pudiese literalmente fracturar la psique de su víctima. Ese mismo vampiro me explicó que lleva tiempo llegar a dominar una habilidad así, y que el resultado podía variar en gran medida de un sujeto a otro, implantar un recuerdo falso, borrar uno doloroso. Las posibilidades son infinitas y aterradoras. Debilidad por la sangre. Esta podría ser la más catastrófica de las capacidades de los vampiros, pues no es sino la causa de su gran número de desgracias tanto para nosotros como para ellos. Los vampiros anhelan la sangre. Deben emplear su voluntad para refrenarse a sí mismos. ¿Qué ha pasado? Vaya hombre.